Final ending of the list, all other parts down below. Check to determine if she is concealing anything more. Time flies, my last week of teaching was just ended. I am therefore really relieved that I am not commuting anymore. While I thoroughly enjoyed my time as a teacher, the winter was difficult. I have a job interview this week, plus I have a great lead for an East Coast University teaching post that I will accept even if I end up getting hired elsewhere first. My original plan was to leave by June 1st, but I would reconsider in July if the East Coast situation materialized. She hasn't yet sent me her divorce documents. After all this time, she can't sit for me, but that is now resolved. Really, we haven't spoken to each other. A few weeks ago, I went up to speak with her when I saw her. I showed no signs of discomfort. Instead, I was upbeat and amiable. She appeared as though she hadn't slept at all. I believe she was surprised that I would approach her and that I would act so honorably. Last Friday, I spotted her too, but I continued to walk. I decided it wasn't worth the time because she didn't seem to see me or act as though she didn't. Since reading that book at B&N around Easter, I've given a lot of things a second thought. Do I really want to be with someone who makes me worry about whether she would leave again in a difficult situation? Does it bother me to wonder if she's interested in another person and may even be pursuing him? That's how things will be with her if we break up again, no on both accounts. Furthermore, am I really going to put up with my spouse being cold-shouldered and showing me no affection for another year while she sorts things out on her own? No, I'm over this. I worked at things, but I was not the best version of myself, and I regret not seeing my own problems earlier. I think I handled it rather effectively, better than other men I know who are experiencing similar things. My friend is a complete disaster following his divorce, sitting alone and drinking. I've improved since then at the other end. Hell, I'm even beginning to glance at other ladies. But I'm not going to ask anyone out just now. Right now, there's a play in town that I really enjoy. I nearly invited a girl who I thought would be fun to hang out with for a while along, but I ultimately decided it was not worth it. I believe I can wait until I move away and start over since I want to start over. I don't want to use anyone, and I am not divorced yet. I anticipated that she would drag things out, which is why I keep waiting for the divorce paperwork. I feel like I'm going to have to submit the papers on my own eventually. I believe I am mentally prepared to receive them. Who knows till I see them for myself? But I'm not going to file. Not quite yet. I will have to do it if she doesn't after I move out and start my own business. Perhaps she was waiting for the end of the cat-sitting session. I'm not sure. We just don't communicate, and that's okay with me. My STBX requested that I deliver her sunglasses to her place of employment after she left them at my apartment, which I carried out today. I gave them to the individual who was obstructing the entrance since she was in her office talking to someone. After that, I simply moved on and went to the nearby library to do my tasks. In my opinion, there is no incentive to communicate going forward. She has nothing here and isn't sitting the cat for me anymore. I could only anticipate needing to get in touch right now if she doesn't file for divorce after I move out. But if she drags it long, even then I can file without speaking to her at all. Oddly, this doesn't make me feel joyful or sad at all. I have my head down, working on my work, making plans, and anticipating the future. I no longer spend days, or even brief moments, daydreaming about my marriage ending. I can now focus on other things and move on because I've pretty well accepted it. Who knows, though? I am aware enough to understand that these things come and go. But I haven't been upset over anything for a few weeks now. Every day, I am thinking less and less about her and our marriage. My thoughts don't always turn to her or the divorce when I go to sleep or wake up. I could think about it or keep it in the back of my mind for 10 or 15% of the time I'm awake. And a big part of that is me looking at things again from a different angle, where I can see my own problems clearly and also realize that this was doomed from the moment she left the house 15 months ago. Yes, things do get easier, but even when I happen to see her or whatever else, I can't help but wait for that step backward that always seems to arrive. Most of the time, I'm not sorry it took so long. When I reflect, I can genuinely claim that I did my best and did everything within my power. In addition, I resolved a number of problems that were weighing me down. This past year's 12-step work has been incredibly liberating. I suppose I could have done that during the divorce process, but not going through it made me examine the ways in which I occasionally, and frequently covertly, try to control events without realizing it in order to be more content with life as it happens. I say the Serenity Prayer on my knees every day before I leave my residence, which undoubtedly aids in my acceptance of what I cannot alter. I can live with it, then. The only thing I regret is not applying for several positions that would have required me to move far away, jobs at which I was practically certain to have a decent chance. For example, Seattle, New York, etc., as some of my PhD department buddies were hired for those positions. And if I hadn't held myself back for an additional year, I may have already landed something and have a better record than them. However, that's all right. That error could make the upcoming year difficult, but I have faith in my ability to overcome it. She might have led me on, but I'm not sure. She may still be conflicted, as I believe, which could be the reason she hasn't filed yet. However, I'm going to stop waiting now. When I move out of this place, which I most certainly will, this must be the end of it. I don't see myself living a life of singledom. A lady is not necessary to define who I am, to experience security, to avoid feeling alone, or just to make me feel nice. That's excellent. However, I don't think I'll remain single for the rest of my life. However, that won't occur if I am permanently divided. Who of the women would desire to be with a married man? What lurking danger that is. By no means am I running out to find someone. However, I have prepared myself for it by doing a lot of self-work, so I'll be open to that. I'm a better and new me for the next lady. Sadly, my STBX comes out on short. I thus don't want this divorce to take as long as the separation did. Whether she files for divorce or not, I'm getting a divorce after I relocate. She may be conflicted, but she is not returning. That much is obvious. She's never coming back, and I can't stand to see this go on any longer. I promise not to hurt her in any way. Already, she goes through enough hardship. I've been kicking around the notion of getting in touch with her to find out when the documents are arriving. However, before I do that, I'd like to be certain of my exact whereabouts and when so that I can determine what I require. Next week, I'm going to an interview for a job that's not here. Although I am a strong candidate, my one shortcoming as an editor will be that I am a little overqualified. However, on the 16th, I have another position on the East Coast that will begin examining applications. Even if I get and take another job, I really want that one. In order to take this position teaching at a university, I would back out. For me, moving away will be a big move. I had to leave this place. Today, I drove to my gym, which is near my STBX's apartment complex. She was in the rear alley where the trucks are unloading and loading cargo. There was a cargo van there when I got in my car after working out. I don't know what was going on, if that was for her, or anything. However, I didn't need to see that, and it only prompts me to wonder if she is moving out this time. It is unlikely because she enjoys her location. Distance is going to be good. Monday is the second interview for a job. It appears like I have the job to lose at this moment. Though I haven't started looking in person yet because I need the job offer and compensation, I have already started packing and looked for apartments. This will dictate my rent payment amount. Hacking is beneficial. I'm now spending most of my time getting ready for this interview. Going through some of my old emails, I came across ones from the autumn that stated I was receiving counseling from my STBX. Throughout it all, I have been fairly hard on myself, examining myself under a microscope to identify any areas where I have failed. Even so, glancing through some of those emails, I can tell that I tried. I was trying so hard to spend time with W, but she was trying not to spend time with me even when I was taking the initiative and sending her letters to try to figure out why I was taking the lead and she was spending so much time with other people. Her email responses are largely consistent with her current statements, and that was prior to our split 20 months ago. Although I wasn't planning on looking at those emails, I happened to notice them when organizing my inbox. Curious, I just had my knowledge validated. She left a long time ago, and she eventually lost the capacity and desire to continue this marriage regardless of what I did, how many adjustments I made, or whether I was a perfect gentleman. When she walked out, she knew where to go. By the time she left, she had given matters some thought. In any case, I no longer give these things any thought. In fact, I'm thinking about it less and less these days. Except as required by law, the marriage is over. I'm done once I receive a job offer. I will get in touch with her to inquire about the status of the divorce documents, which have not yet been filed. I don't want to file in a new state, where the residency restrictions will make the process much more time-consuming, and where filing a no-fault claim will need a 2-year separation. Even if it has been over 2 years, that is a long time to be apart. Since I try not to judge her morality or anything, I'm not sure how self-centered she is. I may say that she was moving away from me throughout those months when I was attempting to connect. In addition, I was oblivious to a few significant problems that contributed to my pushing her away. I was attempting to spend more time with her, but I was also trying to avoid being around most other people and didn't want to hang out with the individuals she wanted us to be around since I felt like they were competing with her for our attentions. They were that, and I had every right to think so and to see her taking use of other people to get out of our marriage. However, I had also grown rather alone and occasionally even cruel to other people, extremely concerned about my standing and reputation, as well as how people treat me. She might have noticed that I was trying to control her by trying to have her spend time alone with me and by not wanting her to be around individuals she was building friends with. Very good reasons for her to be concerned. Thus, I didn't mean to and wouldn't put this all on her. However, after going through the emails again, I can say that even at that point, I wasn't intentionally pushing her away or anything. In those early months of counseling, I did the best I could with my understanding at the time, and I didn't discover more about myself until much later. The worst part is that she continued to distance herself from me even after I became aware of these facts. Maybe, in her own opinion, she had been pushed too far. Hers was merely a low bar, as are all of ours. Anyway, sorry for the digression. Trying to consider it without assigning blame or calling her or me awful people. That's just the way things are. She is still acting in her own best interests. It is unclear if that is the case. I don't think so. However, life has a curious way of disproving me. Yesterday, I had an interview. I think I won't be hired since I made a small mistake on a Hebrew test. Oh well, maybe there's a chance for me in Baltimore. Let's see. I appreciate everyone's warm words. I wrote my wife a note tonight asking when she intends to file for divorce, when she would notify me, and if it's feasible, when I may expect the paperwork to arrive. Sending that is difficult since it implies that I am pressuring her to fulfill her commitments, something I absolutely don't want. However, I am not very fond of this waiting thing. She said 2 months prior that she would file. She also hasn't told me anything, nor has she done so. We don't communicate with each other. However, she is not returning. I am certain of that much. So, it serves no purpose for me for her to hang around. My 99 remarked that since I had requested her to wait, she could be anticipating a note from me along those lines. He said that she might also be coming to terms with the fact that she won't be able to stay in touch with me and that our friendship won't last as long as she had planned. He added that she might be afraid that, after her divorce, she will be more susceptible to entering into toxic relationships with other men since, to some extent, having other guys around gives her a sense of identity. However, none of that is a problem for me. I'm not a means of self-preservation or a tool for her recovery. It's preferable, in my opinion, to get the thing done and over with if she wants it. But sending the email proved difficult. I emailed my STBX on Tuesday, asking her to let me know when she intends to file papers. Still no answer. She was working outside when I saw her today. I visited the library where she is employed. I know that she saw me, even though she feigned not to. Because of the location of the road and bench, she had to witness me drive while she was seated on a bench. I just got in the car and drove right by her without trying to talk to her or anything. I reasoned that if she can't recognize me, I shouldn't bother either. How come I'm wasting my time? Doing it seemed depressing. I didn't linger, though. She was disappointed that I couldn't even acknowledge my presence and didn't want to do something like that. She wanted to be friends. Whatever, it's finished. When I move out of this place and stop seeing her like this, I'll be happy. She responded to me. She stated that the first week of June is when she will file. I was a little depressed after hearing that. Maybe there was something else I was hoping for in the back of my mind. I feel like sending her an email to ask her not to. However, I haven't done so. I doubt I will. I'm not going to talk to her about anything. Her remark initially made me upset since I didn't want her to really do it, but I knew this was going to happen. Since at least the summer of our wedding 2 years ago, she has been checked out of our union. She has been absent for a while. With her, I'm exhausted and depleted. She is really a drag, and I have a bright career ahead of me. Even if she was sincere about making things right, I would be stranded in a place where I had no job opportunities. It would be difficult for me to abandon my 12-year training to become a university teacher. Regarding the he used to be a buddy of mine and teaches religion at a private school. The expert panel on theology and bonding will address a range of topics. Among them is adultery and similar things. What a hypocrite that man is. I refrained from revealing him. However, he will be on a panel because we are both members of this professional society. One that criticizes specific actions that he personally takes part in. Makes me feel quite angry. I'm not sure if I will accept that as is. I've been dealing with it for the past 18 months. How do I handle this guy? My wife is a much easier target, so I always thought that if I went to the admin at his place of employment, they would cover it up and probably dismiss her. They refused to let her go. Under the pretext of budget constraints, they would merely refuse to extend her contract. I didn't see the need to do that. Here, the person in charge should be held accountable rather than the individual. My STBX, who works at a lower salary, met in the fact that I believed that ruining her job would hurt my prospects of making amends with her. Furthermore, I'm making an effort to be cautious about my personal motivations, and such that when I'm hurt, I don't act in a way that makes me feel better, if only momentarily, by hurting someone else. Fails to function. Not a wise inclination. Made me decide to let it go. But it all came up again when he saw his name on that panel. I don't think about him all that much most of the time. I'm not interested in interacting with him. We had been pals once. That is completely gone and never will be. He believed that our marriage was open. When I first confronted him, he told me this and stated he would back off, of which he refrained. Before she finally broke up with him in June of last year, she moved out and a few doors away from him. I would not have gone to counseling with her if she had not broken off communication. I was about to file for divorce because of everything, but she turned away from him. Who knows, maybe that will resurface at some point. A catastrophe waiting to happen, but I'm not worried about that. Perhaps it doesn't bother me that this hypocrite would talk like a dumbass on a panel at a professional conference and help further sour relations with my wife. I'm not sure how to approach this, but I believe it should be done. I'll be thinking about this a lot during conferences because our professional networks overlap. I have better connections than him, and I've been published rather successfully, among other things. I could thus raise a problem with it. For me, the difficulty is how to do this without making a bad impression on myself or doing something unhealthy. It has been months since we last spoke. We are getting divorced, so that is how things will be going forward. I didn't get in touch with her and suggest that she reconsider. Would be like taking a hit to the gut and make no difference whatsoever. That is not necessary. Yesterday was my third interview for a job that I felt I didn't do well in. Everything went nicely on the third interview, but they worried that I would leave soon and claimed that I am way overqualified for the job. They expect a commitment of at least 2 years, if not more. That's not something I can do. There are a number of excellent teaching positions available at universities, and applications for the following fall semester will be accepted. I might have lost it, but I wanted to be honest about my limitations and maintain my integrity by saying that I could only commit for a year. I lost that one, maybe, but I have a long game ahead of me. It's better to accept a poorer position for a year than to spend more time in a mediocre one. They haven't made a decision yet, though. Who knows? I may have blown it earlier than I realized. It's obvious that they believe I would be the most qualified applicant. Anyway, I'm spending the majority of my efforts looking for work and finishing my degree-required writing. I anticipate that my perspective will improve after I leave this place. I promise not to feel uncomfortable seeing individuals we both know all the time. I refuse to look at her casually. I'll have stronger social ties in a metropolis and be more aware of my own direction. I decided last night to move within the next 2 weeks or so, whether or not I have a job, and to pack up everything in my place. I'm heading out of here. I can find work to pay my bills, but I would rather to live somewhere nicer and work at a job I'm not too satisfied with for a year. Next, arrive here. All this time, I've been a really kind guy. In some respects, I needed to change from being so self-centered to being a little more people-focused. However, I believe I allowed my STBX to walk all over me. She took advantage of me by giving me transportation and verbatim using my research at a paid speaking engagement when I was meant to be speaking but wasn't because of the breakup. She stayed at my house while I was away. In fact, she insisted on it, and I gave in. Though I didn't need her to cat sit, I convinced myself that I did. I knew in my heart that this would end in divorce, so I could have moved then and put an end to this. I simply couldn't let it go, though. I let her to drag me along for over a year and a half, to the point that this year will be a little difficult for me because I didn't apply to any prestigious university teaching positions so I could stay and sort things out with her. She sent me an email as I was finishing off this line, expressing how much she enjoyed our previous conversation and how she will contact me again. How come? Still, I'm on the go. My landlord is allowing me out of my lease for a month. I'm moving on August 1st, according to that. I made a notice. I've inquired about potential housemates at my graduate school from people I've met. If I need to go away for a few days, it could be a good idea to get a 2-bedroom and have someone nearby who can monitor the cats, and generally to be in the presence of someone. If not, I can live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment. I currently live alone in a 2-bedroom home. With all of my books and everything, I use the spare room as a study. It feels fantastic to have a planned move and a set date for the move. There is hope for the future. Though I'd want to leave sooner, this will do. This will work because I have other art shows in the neighborhood till then. And when I learned that the roommate had attempted to avoid paying a portion of the rent before moving in and had a very recent felony drug charge against him, I turned him down. Told me over the phone this morning that he had moved out after fighting with his current roommate. Can he now bring his belongings? Absolutely not. He tried to negotiate me down on rent and burned his bridge before we could work things out. He also had a record, though it was only for a marijuana charge, and he still tried to push me to help him out of his ignorance. A poor decision on his part. He interpreted my admission to graduate school as evidence of my extreme stupidity. Whatever, I suppose. In any case, I would probably be better off spending a few months alone. It was foolish of me to even believe that I could find a suitable roommate so quickly. Perhaps that is a good concept in a longer-term scenario. But there's a very slim possibility that I'll come across someone stable who requires housing for such a brief amount of time. I'm not sure what I thought. That was far too impetuous and uncharacteristic of me to put an advertisement without giving it enough thought to realize that all I'm going to get is people who are already in unstable situations and will undoubtedly bring a lot of baggage into my life. And I really don't need it. Well, nothing bad happened. I've learned my lesson, and I'm done. I'm happy I had some time to kiss. I detest this aspect of moving so much. It's an excellent idea to move on August 1st. It will give me time to pack, and since I have a few art exhibits in this region in June and July, I won't have to drive back to finish some works. In addition, I'm still hustling for a 1-year teaching job elsewhere. Possess a few leads. I'm hoping that something will come up before I sign anything. If not, everything is okay. I'm relocating to a new city, and my friends there are helping me find a place to live and are guiding me in the right direction so I may live close to them. Thus, everything is okay, as TBX promised to submit this week. But thus far, I've received no word. She has Friday off, so perhaps tomorrow she will inform me that she has filed. I work as a framer for a small local company part-time. In any case, I've been flirting with a 25-year-old girl there for a while. She has a little child. In any case, neither have I flirted with her nor encouraged her. She's a pretty girl, and I appreciate the attention she's received, but I haven't done anything to help her. In any case, we were chatting last night while I was at work. I inquired how she supports herself and her child with a part-time job, and she disclosed that she is married. She has no rings on. I was taken aback, but I kept it to myself. Speaking, she stated that she chose the position to demonstrate to her husband that, despite their difficulties, she is not powerless and can succeed on her own. Oh my, it would have been so simple to fall prey to it. A stunning young woman who wants to share secrets and other things with me. It is flattering, and I guess I enjoy receiving attention from women just as much as the next guy. But I made no attempt to inquire or become involved in that. I was somewhat taken aback. It's clear that she has a long way to go before becoming separated and divorced. Every indication is present. Now, all of the flirtation makes sense. I want no involvement in that. After I left, I gave this some more thought. How simple it is to find yourself in a position where you utilize someone else to get out of suffering on her behalf. Furthermore, consider how simple it would be for someone who isn't in the relationship to become overly empathetic in this situation. My spouse possessed an N, or even more. In no way would I put myself in a position to be an OM. I am aware of the anguish and the risk involved with being there. For the first time, though, I could at least relate to the OM and how he might have become enmeshed in the world of my STBX. Stupid nonsense, too bad he wasn't more self-control. In any case, I thought about it last night and remembered it this morning. Just to be safe, I'll make sure to avoid talking to her too much. Just finish my assignment and move on. In addition, STBX stated in her 2-line email that she is traveling and won't be checking her inbox this weekend. She also stated that she did not file for divorce this week as she had originally intended. In my response, I expressed my disappointment at the lack of contact and asked her to let me know when she intended to file, as there was no purpose in delaying it. If not, she should share her opinions with me, and I will take them into consideration. Regardless of the situation, I want things handled as soon as possible. I will eventually have to submit a file. My 99% believes that I might have to do it after all. I've been pressing her to make decisions and take action in our relationship for the past few months, and that's led to all of her actions. If she had to go through the trouble and pay for this, I would much rather that she did. However, perhaps I should arrange to do it myself the week of the 16th if she doesn't accomplish this in the upcoming week. I'm going to hold off on dating till after my divorce. First of all, I wouldn't date a woman who is separated as it's a dubious circumstance. And while I'm still in this predicament, I would be wary of ladies who want to date me. Furthermore, it would be illogical for me to date while I'm still here because I'm only here temporarily. Better wait until after the divorce is finalized and I move. In the end, I'm not sure if I'm prepared for that yet, but I'm making progress. Maybe by the time I leave here. While I absolutely want her to follow through, I also need this to be finished quickly. I don't think I need a woman or anything else in my life. I mean, I don't need a woman to perform the stereotypically feminine division of labor or to feel good about myself. I am able to look after myself. Hell, I can clean and cook really well. In that sense, I'm an adult. Furthermore, I'm not truly alone. I don't feel the need to look for temporary female companionship in any form. That is all that is possible while I live where I do. Just an occasional date, not worth my money or time, in my opinion. However, I don't see myself remaining single for the rest of my life, and I'm willing to consider dating women in the near future. I lift weights 4 to 5 times a week and have been doing so for the past 2 years, so my physical condition is good. And I had run marathons before that. I'm in fairly good mental health. In a year or two, I should have a respectable job at a university. Thus, I don't think getting a woman will be difficult. Even though I'm 39, I look younger. I look good for my age. It is a family trait. My transience for at least a year or so is my sole drawback. Since I have no idea where my career will lead me, I might easily state that I won't date until I've secured a position in a tenure-track institution. However, that is a precipice of justifications. That might last for a year or two, I believe. I'm not sure. Very good. I appreciate your nice remarks about the painting. That one I sold in February of last year. I live in a gallery and have a couple new ones that are comparable that are oil on canvas. I'm incredibly enthusiastic about my upcoming art displays, therefore I'll be wearing them. Excellent spots to meet ladies if I so desired. In the past, I've discovered that when women perceive me as an artist rather than a professor, they talk to me very freely. Maybe less scary, since I'm usually nice at such kinds of events. In sales mode, I would wait to date until I had a place of my own if I were in your position. Yes, tell me why you're moving. Are all of you homeowners? The apartments are small and the rent is exorbitant. Have you informed your children that you haven't even filed for divorce yet? In that case, I would be suspicious of both my intentions and myself. What is stated by your IC? This morning, I had an excellent interview for a professorship. I'm pretty sure I can obtain it. I checked my email by accident before the Skype interview. I also erred by opening an unusual email on my STBX. She sent me a 3-line email informing me that she had filed for divorce and would pick up and deliver a handful of my personal belongings to the office of my apartment complex. I took care during the interview to maintain my composure and attitude, and it no longer has a negative impact on me. It is ironic, in my opinion, that the woman who wished for friendship is unable to send even the most basic email politeness. She can only write 3 sentences, and is unwilling to deliver my goods in person, so she turns to a middleman instead. This divorce has no legitimate justification. She wants me to connect with her on a deeper emotional level, something I have already worked at and am prepared to work at. Not that I'm a mess or anything. Psychologically, physically, and emotionally, I am a rather stable guy. She is responsible for this divorce. On the good side, if we were still working at things, or rather if I was trying and she was just appeasing me, I would not be able to accept a teaching position someplace. I would be stranded in this hole in the ground, working construction or at a factory or coffee shop. All very respectable job, but I don't want to waste my skills and all that hard work after completing a 12-year university teaching program. I swear, I speak 7 languages. How are those useful in a factory? That's why this is good. The world is wide open to me, I can go anywhere, and doors are open because people are interested in me. I'll find someone else to share life with. Too bad she won't come along. I then picked up the divorce papers at the post office. She has no debt to split and no property, therefore she is suing for a no-fault divorce. As they say, a clean divorce. After that, I went to the gym, and I think my natural reaction was to attempt to track her down and talk her out of this catastrophe. However, that is merely a temptation. I'm not going to follow through on it, but I still don't think that this divorce is necessary or appropriate. However, I am able to accept it. I can count on her lawsuit in 60 days. If I don't submit anything, it gets processed. Of course, she's changing her name again. After we were married, we both changed our names. Since I am somewhat of a public character in the theological community and have published a number of books and papers under this name, I shall leave mine exactly as is. I don't mind the name. In fact, I think it's better for my career to remain unchanged. I don't believe there's anything I can do to maintain it. For the documents, you must specify what you wish to modify and whether you want to change at all. That means my name will remain exactly as it is if I don't submit a response, which is exactly what I want. My second thought was probably on whether or not to file a counter. No debt from her, I do have some. However, it might be best to just leave it go and make my own assumption. I'll be able to handle it. By not raising any issues, she is indicating that she doesn't want to get into a confrontation. That's definitely for the best, and I should probably simply wait the whole 60 days before taking any more legal action. If there are no debts or assets to divide, all of this legal nonsense is just formalities. Neither of us ever gave the legal aspects of marriage much thought. Since our politics sometimes disagree with having religion and politics mixed together, we chose to get married at a courthouse a few days prior to our church wedding. This is actually over, if my politics are correct. The legal stuff is just a formality we put in place in case one of us got injured or something. After a few days, I saw the STBX today, said hello, and carried on. But I'll be happy when I relocate and don't cross paths with her. I haven't received a response from him regarding the other issue, and I don't anticipate one. Tomorrow, I'm going to simply talk with a friend who is on the planning committee about what has happened. What he does with that information is up to him. After that, I will let it go. Though I don't want to get too involved in this kind of activity, I do think I should notify certain individuals and let them have at it. They can't later claim they weren't warned. I don't even want to know what they decide. If nothing else, I will have fulfilled my obligation, and that's what worries me in this situation, staying silent when there might be something I should say. For the sake of my marriage, it was okay to remain silent. However, I'm not sure if keeping it back without that is okay. It doesn't feel quite right. Again, though, I might be mistaken, but I'm going to tell a few others before giving up and turning away from it. After a week, I updated my location on the dating app to reflect my new residence last week. I've already had 3 women ask me out. Jesus, one is obviously inappropriate. Repeatedly divorced and complaining on the internet about it. The other 2 are attractive women, yet nothing caught my attention about their profiles right away. I responded with a message asking if they wanted to get together for coffee after I left town for a month. That seems good to me, and I'll enjoy that city. After 6 months, I'm doing great. I've got a new job teaching guys convicted of violent crimes about nonviolence and questioning their notions about patriarchal gender roles. I've moved to a new city, got divorced, and I'm a part-time teacher at a local university. I recently got a new car and I'm seeing a wonderful woman. We've been dating for 5 months now. Overall, I have a decent life. I've invited the woman I'm seeing to visit my folks over the upcoming holidays. She could come with me even if her 2 children won't be joining her this year. The children are 9 and 2 years old. I don't own any children. Not really exposed to them until I began dating this woman. They were never what I desired. Her 2-year-old can be a challenge at times. Sometimes he is quite lovely, but other times he cries, whines, and loses his temper. Not extremely enjoyable. I'm not used to handling things like that. One thing that makes me hesitate is that, for example, I could not see myself moving in with her and putting up with it every day. Her 9-year-old presents 0 difficulties. I'm currently resolving that problem with dating. I should definitely obtain counseling and have a third party assist me in making this decision. Regarding my former partner, we don't communicate or hear from each other at all. Though I don't focus on her too much, I do occasionally think about her. What do you guys think of this dramatic conclusion? My comment. You believe that Opus has truly moved on. What are your thoughts on dating a fresh lady who has kids? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in